the dark, I play my dreams. Permaculture flows like sweet streams. I'm the daddy with the know-how seed. Creating the world like it's meant to be. Permaculture, P-I-M-P, I'm the king. That's in love in everything. Bringing change, making it last. Join the permaculture.
Welcome to episode 372 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only Pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, practical living, and sometimes even prostitutes.
Permaculture, P-I-M-P, with soulful rays. In the VIP cast where we find our place.
Oh, yeah. So glad to be here with y'all tonight and glad to be here with my guest. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I wish we could go live everywhere right now. But as you know, we're on our second strike on Permaculture. Well, shoot, my channel, whichever one that is, Permapastures Farm. We're on our second strike right now because our previous guest had the audacity to talk about how certain seeds that God put on this planet might be able to chelate certain things out of you. And then Barbara O'Neill got us, banned for a while by actually talking about something that was on the periodic table. So until I get off the second strike, in fact, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to ever put it back on there. Whenever I go live, I can sing Mary Had a Little Lamb, and it is going to get us banned. So anyway, our biggest platform anyway is the audio platform. So for all of you guys and gals out there tomorrow or tonight, even that are doing your chores out there listening to me and Adam, glad to be with y'all too, because by and large, you are the massive audience out there. Anyway, this episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from twooldcrowshomestead.com. Turn that simp into a pimp. Bam! Harvest right. It's that time of year. Yeah, harvest season. You're getting everything in, and you may be a little bit overwhelmed, but if you're needing a harvest right freeze dryer, use the link down below. It helps us quite a bit. Now, I got another number of other advertisers and sponsors out there, but I'm not gonna worry about them right now. You guys are just gonna have to wait until next show because I don't want to take any time away from the the busy bee that I got coming on. That was about it, the gayest thing I've said in a while. But anyway, I'm sure I will up it here before too long. Anyway, glad to have Adam Martin from Be Kept. Oh, snap. I just put him out for a minute there. Okay, we got Adam Martin from Be Kept. How you doing, my man?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, man. You know what? I can't believe we didn't do this long before. Folks, if you don't know, and you don't know, I've talked about Adam a number of times on this program, but look, I've met him a number of times at a number of festivals out there. We all kind of run in the same circles and everything. And how I didn't have you on this program, because folks, I'm telling you, if you ever go to anything he's speaking at, he's always the best speaker in the gang. And I mean, without a doubt, he's number one out there. And I'm like, how did I mean, we cross paths, we talk every time, we always hang out, we joke around, we kid. We talk about some things that may not be suitable for podcasting, not to say that it's, we're talking about anything disgusting. It's things that most people just don't want to hear about, don't want to talk about. And we were doing a little bit of that beforehand. But anyway, man, can't believe it's been this long, but glad to have you on here, bro. So I'm not even going to fool around, bro, because we don't have a whole lot of time. I got a bunch of things I got to knock out, but that's not what's important to me right now, bro. You're a superhero to me and a whole lot of other people out there. So don't tell me you came from Krypton, but I got to know what brought you to the work you're now doing, bro. Take as long as you need.
Well, I'm a storyteller, so this could take a while, but I just Leslie and I, my wife and I, we're recovering Californians, full disclosure. We escaped California in 2018. We're political refugees, and we landed in Middle Tennessee. I tell people we came here with a little golden nugget from California. So we sold our house and just cashed out of the system, so to speak. We both had big boy jobs out there, and we were just over it, over the rat race. And we're really just ready to live clean, grow our own food, and just kind of get out to the country. So we landed in Middle Tennessee. We had some family that came out here ahead of us, and we checked it out, and it checked all the boxes. Researched the state government, researched regulations, taxation, all that stuff. And then the growing season here, we live in the banana belt, much like where you're at. And it's such a huge blessing. And so we just literally came to God's country in 2018. We ended up buying a little basket case farm, and we hit the ground running, knowing nothing. Both of us grew up in the city. We had dabbled in chickens and a garden, and we even did some meat birds, and we had some friends that were doing it, but we had no idea what we were doing. So we bought some chickens, found them on Craigslist. About 24 hours later, I bought a Great Pyrenees puppy to protect those chickens. And at about the same time, I ordered 3 packages of honeybees. And that's really where it began. I just started doing bees, all the all the orthodox conventional ways to keep bees. I started down that road because that's what you do. I went to the local bee club. I got a mentor, got vertical boxes, started feeding sugar water, was told to treat for varroa mites. So I started, researching natural treatments, more natural treatments. I joke that we're a get tougher, die farm here. We want to have hardy animals, hardy cows, hardy hogs. We want things to birth their offspring on their own. We want less inputs on our property, and just to try to live off the land as much as we can. So I ended up learning pretty early on, just through research and common sense. There was just things that weren't adding up to me, beekeeping wise. I fell in love with honeybees. As soon as I started working bees, there was just something about it. I came down one day and I told Leslie, hey, I don't know what I have to do to make money at this, but this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I love playing with honeybees. So one of the pivotal moments was at one of the bee club meetings that I went to really early on. Is I learned about swarm trapping, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They said it was easy, and I'm like, there's just no way. I'm a hunter, I'm a fisherman, and I'm like, you're telling me I can just build a crude box, put some frames in it, put it up on top of my hill, and I'll have a swarm move in? I'm like, how come you didn't tell me this about 4 weeks ago before I spent $300 on bees, right? And I put that swarm trap up, and I started watching it, and about 6 weeks into it, I had a bunch of scout bees on there. I didn't even know what I was looking at. They were looking at it. And I came down the hill and told Leslie, and we ran to town to get some lunch or something. And when we came back, I ran up the hill, and those bees had already moved in, and it was a huge swarm, and I was hooked right then and there. I'm like, I'll never buy bees again, And, come to find out after the fact, those bees are the best bees that I can get because they're acclimated to my area. They're used to the flora, the pests. They've overwintered in my area. So buying bees, most likely, if you buy bees, you're buying them from out of state or wherever, or you're buying them from somebody that's feeding and treating, and those are not necessarily bees that I want to have. And so that's what I teach. The next thing I found out about was horizontal hives, and it's just easier on the beekeeper, easier on the bees as far as maintenance goes. They're in a better insulated hive box compared to vertical hives. The vertical hive system and everything taught about beekeeping today in America, unless you're talking to me or somebody, in the natural beekeeping world, everything starts at the multi-billion-dollar level industry of almond pollination and the pollination circuit across America. And they hold, they have to have 330,000 colonies to pollinate America. And I believe that the commercial bee industry holds like 315,000 colonies. And so it's a really small amount of colonies that backyard beekeepers and homesteaders actually hold. So that being said, everything that happens or how they handle bees in the commercial industry, that trickles down to your ag extensions at your universities. That trickles down to your local bee clubs. And that is what's taught, is commercial beekeeping and however they're doing it. That doesn't fit my farm model. I don't keep my cows in a way that they would keep cows on a commercial dairy. I raise my beef on grass. everything we do from top to bottom, we don't follow commercial industrial methods in anything we do. And so it just didn't fit our farm model to beekeep like that. So once I started realizing that there was another way, the next thing I realized was that there's very few people out there teaching it. And this was, 4 or 5 years ago. And I had some people reach out to me. I had a family come over. They said, "Hey, we want to come over and see your bees and see how you do bees, because we've never heard anything about this." So I had them come over, and after an hour and a half, 2 hours in my bee garden, and letting their kids taste real raw honey right off the frame for the first time, and just having fun, I just had a blast doing it. And next thing I know, they put my name out to some homeschool groups, and I got these people calling me and saying, "Hey, would you do a homeschool class? Would you do this? Would you?" Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And so it just started to snowball. And we went to our first Homesteaders of America conference. It's funny, Leslie heard about it, and she was following YouTubers. And it was funny because she was like, "It's so crazy. There's this group of YouTubers, and they're all in North Carolina. And like, they're all like the influencers, Justin Rhodes, and, and all these people that are your friends, that have become our friends, the Dixons, and what is it? Oh, I forget their names, but there's a bunch of them, right?" And she's like, "We need to have that why don't we have that here in Tennessee? There's these homesteaders around here, and we need that here, And I was like, "Yeah, you're right, we do." So anyways, long story short, Leslie tells me about this homestead event that's going to happen in Columbia, Tennessee, where we live. And it was a Homesteaders of America. And she's like, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And I said, "How much are the tickets?" And she said, "I think they're $250. And I said, "What?" I said, "I can buy for 2 tickets. I can buy half a cow. Like, I'm not doing that. No." And then she comes back to me and she says, "Well, they're going to give free tickets if you volunteer." I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, how long do you have to volunteer for?" She said, 4 hours. And I said, "Okay, what are the jobs?" And she said, "Oh, there's traffic attendants, and then there's childcare, and then there's security." I said, "Oh, security? You mean I can carry a gun out there?" And so that's what we did. We signed up for security and went out there. And it was my first event, and just mingled with people like us, people that are on the same path, doing the same thing, or wanting to do the same thing, and just sweet people, and had a blast. And I just, we met Joel Salatin for the first time. We were totally starstruck, Leslie had him sign her book, and it was pretty funny. So I went to the bee talk. Of course it was pretty much bees 101, and conventional ways of doing things. And I had been teaching already homeschool classes and stuff. And so I just, being who I am, I just walked right up I said, "Who's Amy Field?" And Leslie points me in her direction. I walked over there and I said, "Hey, I'm Adam Martin. I love honeybees. I love teaching about honeybees, and I'm doing things very different. I am doing more natural, sustainable beekeeping. If you ever have an inkling, I'd love to share. If you have the small Tennessee event again, I'd love to do it." And she said, "Okay, yeah, all right, nice to meet you." And so I just figured, oh, well, that's the end of that. And I don't know why, man. I think God just kept pricking my heart about it. And it was probably 3 or 4 or 5 months later, I dropped an email, and it was so crazy. I got an email right back from Amy Field, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I've been looking for your contact info." She said, "I want you to do the spring event in Tennessee, and then I want you to come up to Front Royal in Virginia and do the fall event." And I was like, "Oh no." I'm like, what have I bitten off here? And I mean, it was just, so that first event, we had a really good turnout, just really positive feedback, and just had a blast. And then at the fall event, of course they didn't put me in the big tent because I'm not an A-lister, and I'll never be an A-lister, and I don't want to be an A-lister. I just want to talk to bee people. It's a niche, but they had me in the tent. I think it holds about 800. And dude, I had people lined up outside of the tent. I mean, it was just like, and I know you can tell, and everybody can already tell that I'm an extrovert. I love people, and I tell Leslie, it's my superpower. The more people I get in front of me, I draw their energy and I throw it right back at them. And just like, I can just flip a switch and go. And I can do that with 20 people, 10 people, But you throw me in front of 800 people and I'm comfortable right there, the focal point, and I've got a lot to say. I've learned a lot. I've had a lot of experiences, and I just have fun doing it. So, I mean, that's where we're at today, is just guest speaking. We do on-farm classes. We do our BCAT boot camps, which is a hands-on course. I still do homeschool classes. One of my favorite things to do, if not the favorite thing to do, is get people around bees for the first time, especially kids, and get them over their fears and let them taste real raw honey for the first time right off the frame. And just like, I don't know, I love it. And so that's what we do. We do it all the time. And that's how that's our side hustle on the farm. We go to different places. Anybody calls me up and wants me to come to their farm to do a demo or to put on a class, any of that stuff, I love doing it. So that's where we're at today. I've got about 17 colonies of bees at the moment, 18, something like that. And I already mentioned it, but this is a really big thing for me. What I teach is I teach trapping or catching feral bees, free bees. And that is the cornerstone of what I do, because I'm catching and trapping hardy bees, and I'm telling other people to do the same. And it's pretty easy. All across the nation, if you've got a honeybee flying around in your yard, they're coming from a colony that will normally cast a swarm every single spring. And so you have an opportunity to trap a swarm off that colony. And if you have a trap up, they're easily duped, and you can get them and get started. And that's how I'm able to get away with not ever feeding sugar water. I don't treat for varroa mites. Last winter, I went in with 7 colonies. I had a hard year last year because I threw out my back. Long story short there, but I went in with 7 and I came out with 7. The commercial bee industry last year lost 60% of their bees. And it's so crazy. The last time that this happened, this colony collapse like this, I think it was 2008. And they spent 2 years, hired, I think he was from Brazil, this, world-renowned bee expert to come in and study the bees and figure out what happened. How did they collapse? And he was allowed to study everything except for the effects of herbicides on honeybees.
Huh.
Everything else. And after 2 years of studying, he came up with, we don't know why. Oh my gosh. And, and so it's the same today. These bees are exposed. And, like I said earlier, 315,000 colonies of bees are exposed to herbicides, pesticides, fungicides. Then they're treated inside of their hives with a miticide. Obviously, we were talking earlier before the show. We know there's all kinds of craziness being sprayed over the United States on any given day, except for during the government shutdown, apparently, because it's blue skies out there right now. But the bees, what people like me are starting to realize is that the bees are very resilient. They can adapt to a lot of things, but they reach a breaking point. And so when you're poisoning them all these 7 different ways inside of their hives, and they're getting exposed to all these things, at some point there is a breaking point and they will fail. Their comb and their wax actually stores the pesticides and the fungicides and the herbicides. And so that buildup over time is going to make that comb poisonous. And this is something it's starting to be talked about, but you'll never hear it from the top. You'll never hear it.
Man, I got to say, wow, I don't even know where to start there, bro. For the record, and I told you personally, I thought, and I think you should be an A-lister.
Oh, my gosh.
And I've said it, every single time I've heard Adam speak or I've been in the company, he and I are usually fighting it out for, no, honestly, the guy is truly phenomenal to listen to, and he's so engaging that, I remember the first time I listened to him speak, and I can't remember. It was a smaller event, and you were knocking the roof off the place. And I was like, man, let me get a little closer. Usually when I go to these things, I can't take a couple of steps without somebody talking to me. So I've tried to get close. And folks, I'm telling you, He will absolutely knock your socks off. So if you ever get a chance, I mean, it's not life on the D list as far as I'm concerned. I mean, my man should be filling out the big tent. Anyway, that's my opinion. Adam, I got to ask you about good night. I don't even know where to start, man. I will ask this because I've been wanting to ask you the last 3 times I saw you. And there was this Netflix documentary that came out a little while ago. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's a few years old. Anyway, they described that the main honey industry, folks, if you don't hear anything else I'm saying today, you might want to check this part out. Don't remember the name of the documentary, but it was all about honey. And they were talking about how, I want to say 95% of all the honey on the shelves out there is actually synthetic. It came from China, and they are so good at faking it that unless you're like a sommelier for honey, you're not going to know it unless they stick it under the microscope and examine it. And even then, you have got to really know your stuff to know the difference. It's as fake as a $3 bill. And I'm like, this is all over the shelves in every place in America. And then all the BS regulations where they're allowed to say this is legit honey, this is raw honey, this is whatever. It's all a doggone lie. And then the first time I remember actually harvesting honey from our own hives, bro, it was like I was in the middle of a York peppermint patty commercial. I was like, I'd never tasted this before in my life, because all the honey I thought I was getting all these years, even from so-called farmers markets, had no idea how many of those people are actually buying this stuff by the 5-gallon jug and then sticking it in fancy jars, making it look like it's real honey. It's gotten to the point now that the only other honey, I mean, outside of ours, I mean, I really am very, very cautious about what I eat in terms. Now, you gave me a jar of honey one time, and I was like, okay, this is legit. I can taste it. There is no way I can go back to eating that other stuff. So I guess I'm throwing it back to you to say, are you even aware of this documentary? And do you have thoughts about this stuff they're calling honey that's in the stores right now?
Well, thank you for opening that door. I love to red pill people on honey. I have not seen that documentary, but I have heard, obviously, the same thing. So remember those 315,000 colonies that the commercial bee industry houses? They feed them. I've seen it. You know, those big, huge milk trucks or fuel trucks that they deliver fuel in? You can look at it. You can watch it online. They're filling up. They're pushing corn syrup into the hives. And they've got all their hives stored in warehouses in North Dakota over the winter, and they're literally feeding them corn syrup. And the bees are turning that into honey. So I would say all of the honey that's coming off the shelf, I mean, most of it is coming from there. And also all of our wax products that come from commercial bee industry are all laced with all that stuff. If you're not getting wax products that are from clean sources, like people like you, people like me, people that you know, otherwise they're buying cheap wax. You can buy it online off of Etsy or wherever, and it's coming from the commercial industry and it's tainted. But the deal is on honey. And this, you know, I started feeding my bees sugar water right off the bat. The bee club, you know, their claims were nectar is sugar water, number one. And number two, it's cheaper to feed bees sugar water than to feed them honey. And so what beekeepers would do, what they normally do if they manage their bees the way that the bee club, you know, teaches, is they're going to put sugar feeders on them 9 months out of the year, basically. They pull them off right before the nectar flow. They let the bees bring in all that nectar and store it for honey. And then they pull the honey supers immediately, put the sugar feeders right back on, and that's the honey that they extract. So theoretically, that's good honey, right? Except for if it's got any, you know, sugar water in it at all, it's going to be tainted. But that's not right. That's not right for the bees, honestly. Honey is a superfood. It's a medicine. We've been eating it for 10,000 years. And when I say honey, I'm talking about nectar from flowers. If you do a Google search on what is nectar, any fifth grader can tell you that nectar is not sugar water. There are essential minerals, essential vitamins, enzymes, proteins, all kinds of stuff. All this nectar is coming from medicinal flowers all the time, right? Your Walmart sugar mixed with water does not emulate that. It does not, it's not a comparison.
No.
And so, you know, what I said earlier about the sugar feeders, like if you're not diligent and you keep your sugar feeders on your beehives, well, they're just making funny honey is what beekeepers call it. And that's what they're extracting. And that's what they're selling you on the street corner for $20 a quart or at the farmer's market. And they're calling it real, raw, local honey. And they're not lying about that other than it's adulterated. And so it's really unfortunate. But you know, your listeners and viewers need to know that unless you know your beekeeper and you know their practices, this is the same as grass-fed beef. It's the same as, you know, your dairy cow. Like if you're going to buy real raw milk from somebody, you should know how they handle it, what they feed their cows, all that stuff. I don't want to go buy some hog that somebody's raised on GMO, God knows what, and have that be my clean meat that I'm eating on my farm. I'm not going to do that. And so it's the same with honeybees. And bees are, oh my gosh, they are the most superior preppers and preparers on this planet. And that's why we love them, is because they can produce way more honey than they would ever need. So all of my colonies, I'm constantly leaving them enough honey to survive all the time. And so I just give them room and they store excess honey. And so what that means is I get their excess honey and I get clean honey, and they get their superfood over the winter when they need it the most to stay warm and stay healthy. And it's a beautiful relationship, right? That I have with my bees, and that everybody can have with their bees. If they're just not greedy and just don't steal all of their honey. And it's as simple as that.
I don't get it. I mean, this is, it is, it was a doctor that once said it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a sick society. And sadly, I think two of us are too well adjusted to this nonsense. And I love how you threw the wider net. And by the way, Ken, I want to thank you for putting that out there. He said it was the docuseries Broken. I didn't recall the name of it, but I guess that's on, or no, he said it was the docuseries Rotten. Yeah, maybe it's one of them out there. So anyway, folks, for anybody who's interested in going to check that out, trust me, it was well worth it. It blew my mind when I was like, really? I can't believe it. Seems like it's more effort to do it wrong than it is. I really think it is, because like you, we don't give them any sugar water. It's the motto on my farm. It's amazing how simpatico we are. Is because the motto here is get loose or get lost. I can look after you. If you ain't tough, you ain't gonna make it on Billy's Jungle Palace of Love, man. It ain't gonna happen. You're not. I mean, like the same thing, like you said with the pigs, but it extends this same absurd mindset when it comes to bees. Extends itself into everything. How many people out there? I knew of one was raising hogs and had to meet the quota for all the places around Louisiana where we were. And if you go there, you could smell this place from a mile away, but they were all organic pigs because he gave them organic feed, but they were wallowing around in their excrement the entire time. Okay, I don't want to eat that pig. Or the same thing with the cows. They were never meant to eat, corn. But there'll be the guy out there at the farmer's market. Yeah, grass raised and grass finished. Okay, is it really? Did you take 28 months to raise that cow?
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. And then when you look at the meat, you can honestly, as a butcher, I can tell 9 times out of 10 if they lied to me, and most of them are. But going back to the honey thing, bro, it's just this curry in the hurry society that we have right now, man, is just leading to it leads to such an awful place. And bro, I see the turnaround every single time somebody tastes my honey. And I know, like you said, it's a person who's used to buying it at, let's say, the farmer's market, pretending like it's legit, or because most of our honey, we don't even sell, we barter with it. And it's far more valuable to me that way. Or we give it away to people we know that will, I don't even sell it, bro, because what they're willing to pay is not a quarter of what I think it's worth. Mm-hmm. So I would rather give it away before I sell it for for an absurd discount when I know what I'm producing is light years better than I know anything else out there. Back to these bees and how robust they are. By the way, I think we're the only people for 5 miles around here that actually have any bees that are still alive. So everybody else giving them the sugar water, everything else. Don't know what to tell you on that. And like you said, I didn't know we were doing the right thing when we were capturing our own swarms out here, because now we got guys that are well adjusted, because we are a permaculture farm. Instead of just waiting for the nectar flow within a narrow 3 or 5 or whatever month window, our bees are able to eat. I mean, even today where it's getting cool up here, bro, they're still out. These guys are out here still working right now because we don't spray junk. We're not going out here wiping out all their food sources. I mean, these guys are able to produce, whether it's through the orchards, the food forest, you name it, in the pasture. These guys are guys and gals. I mean, they're whatever they are.
I was going to tell you, I was going to correct you, Billy. There's only 2 genders in 2025, and honeybees are females. There's a few males, but they're not around right now. So there's females and then there's males, and that's it.
Okay, I thought you were going to tell me we got some trans-testicle bees running around here, man. I didn't know they were doing operations in those hives down there, but
yeah, don't call my girls guys.
Okay, yeah, I won't make that mistake again. Too many of those running around Asheville anyway, so I don't need to make it a bigger problem. I got to ask you, I know that you're into the horizontal things, and you got us into it. And bro, I know you told me all the stuff to expect beforehand. We captured a swarm, stuck it in there, and unlike our other hives, which we are going to change over completely, I had no idea how absolutely it doesn't matter. And those other hives, the old hives that we have, bro, you go out there, you catch them on the wrong day, man, they're coming after you. These other guys, I can be within a foot of the hole. And they're like, hey, what's up, Billy? You know, we're going out. We're going to go do our thing, dude. It's like they're in there smoking weed or something. I don't know what's going on in that hive. Why are they so much chill in these horizontal hives as opposed to the other ones?
Well, it has a lot to do with, I really honestly believe that bees end up developing PTSD, whether they get attacked by a bear or the tree gets blown over by a tornado or whatever. Or if a beekeeper comes in and with vertical hives, you have to tear apart that box to do an inspection. And you're doing a lot of unnatural manipulations of a colony that is made to survive in a tree and never interact with humans. They keep a very sanitary airspace, and the temperature is just right inside of that airspace. And so in a vertical hive, it's almost impossible to not completely disturb that. And then when you put it back together, or when you're manipulating a vertical hive, it's almost impossible not to smash bees. And when you smash bees or squish bees or pinch bees, they put off an alert pheromone, letting all their sisters know that somebody's getting murdered right now, and we need to get out of here. We need to go find the guy with the red glasses, and we need to sting him until he screams and runs off like a little girl. But in the horizontal hive, you're just manipulating one frame at a time. You're keeping the entire thing covered and closed for the most part. You just don't have to do that when you're getting in there to check on your bees. And so it's a lot less invasive, and the bees really do respond to it. So like I was telling you earlier, I do homeschool classes, and I do these classes in my apiary, and nobody's got protective equipment on. We're all standing around hives, watching the bees at the entrance. Nobody gets stung. And like you said, the bees are just busy working, doing their thing. And that's because they have not been violated. And I get away with that. Nobody with vertical hives would ever do what I do when it comes to doing those classes. And, I would say 99 times out of 100, we don't have a sting. Every once in a while, something happens. But for the most part, we don't have any stings. And it's just, that's one of the things with the horizontal hive. Now, a really big component of the horizontal hive is that the side walls of the box are actually thicker. So like the one that you all purchased from me, it has 2-inch thick sidewalls on it. So the hive body itself is 2 inches thick. The commercial bee boxes is about 3/4 of an inch thick. And the reason is, they're loading those those suckers up on trucks to take them to California for pollination, and they want the equipment to be as light as possible. Well, that's not what bees have out in nature when they're overwintering. They've got a 4 to 5 inch hive box inside of a hollowed out tree. And so overwintering the bees in the horizontal hives, they do so much better. They burn through a ton less honey. They actually use honey to heat. That's what they eat to stay warm during the winter. So the warmer they are inside of that hive, the less honey they're going to burn through. And they're just nice and toasty in there, and they're good. So those are the reasons why the horizontal hives I prefer, and I teach people that for me and for a backyard beekeeper, to me, it's the only way to go. So if you can start out like that, that's what I advise. People that have vertical boxes, you can totally get away with doing the natural thing with vertical boxes. You sometimes have to do some things like put jackets on the hives if you're in, severe weather areas and stuff like that, where you insulate the outside of the hive for the winter. But in the horizontal hives, we don't have to do that. We don't have to mess with that. So it's pretty nice that way.
Now, is it, for those that are almost certainly going to ask out there, is it possible to transition from, like, take your bees out of the standard boxes and get them into a horizontal hive? And what does that look like? I mean, we're talking like Brown versus Board of Education, or is it still kind of transfer?
No, it's a piece of cake. Just like what y'all did. If you've got vertical hives, they use a frame called Langstroth frames, and Langstroth was developed here in America in the 1850s. And that's what Westerners use, is that frame, and you can get them anywhere and everywhere. And so you can actually build a horizontal hive to fit those Langstroth frames. So you can go straight from a vertical to a horizontal. You basically keep the frames in order, orientated the same direction, and you just transfer them over. If you've got, it's kind of getting in the weeds a little bit, but if you've got a 10 frame brood nest, you put that 10 frame brood nest, 10 frames in the horizontal hive where the entrance is. And then you take your honey box and you take those 10 frames and you put them on the outside of that brood nest, and the bees adapt to it like flawlessly. So instead of moving up to honey in a vertical hive, they're actually moving over to honey. Left to right, right to left, whatever, and they have no problem doing it. And so it's really easy to make that conversion if you already have Langstroth, and I advise people to do it. If that's the frame that they already have started with, stick with it and just start building horizontal hives for those frames.
Now, there's so many people out there saying that they can't make. It's one of the biggest frustrations I deal with are the people that are wanting to get into this space, whether no matter the nature of the agriculture. Let's say they want to get into cows, they want to get into sheep, they want to get into pigs, chickens, bees, whatever the case. So many people claim that they can't make money at it. I'm not trying to get too deep into your business, but I try to blow that paradigm as often as I can. I'm like, well, I'm profitable at it. I mean, if you're not, maybe there's some management issues you got going on, but I got to know, I mean, in terms of just beekeeping alone, would you say it's profitable, and can other people replicate it?
It's 100% profitable for sure. And it's scalable, it's all about equipment and, capturing more bees, trapping more bees. I have about a 50% success rate per trap. So if I put out 20 traps, I expect to trap 10 swarms that spring.
Wow.
It's a lot of upfront cost, when it comes to the hardware. As long as you keep, you take care of that hardware, you buy nice quality hive boxes and nice, you paint your swarm traps so that they can last a long time. All that stuff can last a long time. So you're going to have an upfront cost unless you're super handy and you can use, recycled wood and do things like that. You could do it on a dime. But like I've got 17 colonies right now. Out of those, I would guess that I'll have 8 or 9 colonies that will be monster colonies next March 1st. And by July 1st, I'll take honey. And in those big ones, I could expect to pull 75 to 100 pounds of honey per hive. I think that we're on the cheapish side. We get $40 a quart all day long, every day for 2.7 pounds. Because we educate people on our honey and they know what it's worth, and we have a waiting list to get that honey. So selling it is like, I mean, I have people beating down our door all the time. Hey, I heard you sell honey, you know, and we turn them away. When we don't have honey, we go, hey, look, sorry, get a hold of us next July and we'll see where we're at then. Right now, we don't have any to sell. Because Leslie and I, we actually have a little bit of a honey problem. We go through a quart a week. So yeah, you heard me right. A quart a week. So 52 quarts a year is what it takes us to survive. She's over here heckling me right now because she's the one that's got the major problem. I kind of try to cover for her. We put honey in our coffee every morning, and that's primarily how we use our honey. But you know, I mean, there's just a lot of different ways.
Dude, how much honey are y'all putting in there, bro? I mean, that's a lot of. That's more honey than coffee.
Yeah, we like candy bar coffee around here. We don't drink black coffee like you do.
No, man, I'm like, dude, that is a whole lot of honey in that coffee. So I guess at the end of the day, for the people that often tell me, oh, I can't make a living at this, well, maybe they're just going about it because I mean, would you also say you probably ought to throw an educational component in there, a way to monetize this thing in terms of, I mean, there's just so many different ways, I think, to make money on a farm if you just think outside the box. And I think so many people are just not willing to do it.
100%. What I do and what I teach is simple and sustainable. So, you know, anybody can learn this and start doing it in their backyard, and it'd be real quick before they would be able to turn around and start teaching other people to do it. We find that our on-farm classes, we love doing those. Yeah, we do have to have people come to our farm, which, you know, sometimes you like having your personal space, but we love doing those classes, and they are very well worth it. And people love to take them and have no problem with the price. You can go check out what we charge on our BCAP webpage. But I mean, we have people fly in here, so there's not enough people teaching what I'm doing around the country. And we've got people that fly here literally from all over the US to come take these classes. And so all that to say, in your community, you know, in small communities, I mean, we've got people doing cheese making classes, sourdough bread making classes, right here in our community, doing all kinds of classes like that. And they charge a similar price, and people see the value in it. They love in-person classes. You can only get so much off of YouTube and watching something, but to go get hands-on with Billy Bond and process a goat or sheep, like that's a totally different deal. And that, you know, that you are able to get people over the mythological barrier that's there. Like, I can't, how would I ever process an animal? How would I even do that? I don't even know where to start. Knives are sharp, you know, and by them coming to your class and doing that with you, boom, man, you just gave them a ton of encouragement. And they feel super powered to do exactly what they learned, and confident, you know, you build that confidence. And so I definitely think that there's tons of room for people to do what I'm doing, teach classes, get as many hives as you can get rolling, and keep healthy bees and pull 75 to 100 pounds of honey out of them every spring, selling that at $40 a quart. That's 30 quarts. So do the math on that. I mean, isn't that $900, $1,000 per hive? Yeah, I think that's right. So, I mean, that adds up really fast, right? I mean,
yeah, it does. But on the same token, I mean, that's where, I still think $40 is not even enough. I mean, for what I know, and I mean, for what they're charging, I couldn't even believe what they were charging for this junk in the store the other day. I was at the farm store, and some clown was down there. Hey, you want to try this honey? And I'm like, dude, not even if Jesus was giving it to me. I mean, I'm at this point, I'm like, dude, I don't even want. I know what you guys are doing, and no, I don't want anything to do with it, man. Man, there's so many different ways I can go with this, but we do have a question here. I'll go ahead and put it on the screen for you, Adam. Don't want to be totally greedy. Question: pros and cons to lands versus top bar for horizontal hives if one is just getting started.
All right. So we didn't discuss lands. Between those two, I would definitely lean towards lands. And the reason is, so lands, is like Langstroth, and I know this is going to get a little bit confusing because it's two LA names, but George Lannes was a Frenchman who, about the same time period as our Langstroth in the 1850s, he developed a Lannes frame in France, and it has been widely adopted in Europe, Eastern Europe, and they still use it to this day. And it's just a different size frame, and there are some advantages to it over a lot of frames. So I actually prefer it even over Langstroth, but I have tons of Langstroth, and I keep bees in both, and they do really well in both. The nuances of Lannes that make me prefer it are not enough to be like a deal breaker. For somebody like you that's already in Langstroth, I would not tell you to sell all of your stuff and go to Lannes. It's not that big of a deal. But if you're making me choose between Lannes and Top Bar, I'm definitely going with Lannes. I have a Top Bar hive right now. I don't have any bees in it. I totally understand it, and I think the bees will do just fine in it. But the thing with a Top Bar, and for everybody that's watching, on a Top Bar, you literally have the top bar of the frame, and the bees build unreinforced comb underneath it, and there's no frame around the comb. And so it's not supported other than on the top bar. So like for a beginner beekeeper, I would not want them to have a top bar because you can never turn that frame sideways to look into the cells to do an inspection. So it's much more of a, and there's a lot of people that do it, but I would say it's more of an experienced beekeeper's way to keep bees, and it's kind of nostalgic is what it is. It's not really going to be a big honey producer. You have to destroy the comb to get the honey. Basically, you got to pull, because if you run that in an extractor, the frames support the combs, and the comb is really good to be able to reuse in your hives because the bees don't have to do that work, and they can just start refilling it with nectar. Now, if you're harvesting the wax, the clean wax, and making products out of it, like my wife is, then there's that, and it's no big deal. But for most beekeepers, they want the honey. Therefore, you want to be able to reuse those frames. So to answer that question, I'm going to say Lannes.
There you go. How about that? Do you use your bees at all? On your farm? I'm not sure. I haven't been there before. So do you have orchards? I mean, do you use them for a particular purpose outside of that? Do you grow things specifically for them? Do you grow wildflowers? Do you just let come up whatever's out there and they just work with it? I mean, what does that look like for you?
So for us here, I mean, we're so blessed to live in Middle Tennessee, and where we live, the bees have an eternity of nectar sources. And if you know anything about bees, on any given day, they go to the best nectar source within a 3-mile radius of their hive. So whatever that is on that day, that's where they're going. If that happens to be in our garden, or that happens to be my blueberry bushes, or that happens to be the chaseberry vitex bushes that I planted for them, then that's where they go. But other than that, they're going somewhere else. And so there's literally almost nothing I could plant that would really benefit the bees outside of what they already have. But I tell people to plant trees. Trees are really big nectar sources. Here, our biggest nectar source is the tulip poplar. So, I could plant those trees today, and of course somebody else is going to enjoy them 25 to 50 years from now. But if I was going to do something, that's exactly what I'd do, is plant tulip poplars. Silver maples are an early bloomer here. They are a good nectar source. The magnolias are also a really good nectar source. I know there's basswoods. There's all kinds of stuff. So beekeeping is very local. You got to find out what's around you, what's growing around you, what's the nectar source, and then I would kind of proceed from there. Grasses also, I tell people throw some white clover seed anywhere and everywhere, because your cows are going to eat it. It's a nitrogen fixer, and it's a great late season nectar source for the bees. If we keep getting rain in June and July, the bees will just keep bringing in clover nectar. So that's another big one. If I ever see, when I was a kid, I don't know about you, but the dandelions would grow in our front yard, and us kids would go out there and kick the seed pods. And man, my dad would get after me, and he's probably listening right now. When kids come over to our place for these homeschool classes, I tell them to go kick every single one of those seed pods.
There you go.
And we had more dandelions this year than I've ever seen in my life. And that's medicine, man. It's medicine for the bees. It's medicine for us. That's the nectar that I want those bees getting after. So, yeah, I mean, we've got fruit trees, we've got blueberry bushes. The bees benefit every living thing inside of 3 miles of where we're at. They really do. So, I mean, we just know it. I've had neighbors come over and tell me, man, I've never had a garden like I had this year. And I swear it's because of your honeybees, or they come over, and I had one neighbor come over and say, I got stung by one of your honeybees the other day. And I said, really? I said, did it have my name on it? And she said, no. I said, well, there's somebody down the road that's got honeybees, and my honeybees are nice. Like my honeybees don't sting people. So I'm guessing it was the neighbor over the hill. So, I think she believed me.
Hey man, you could sell anything these days.
I could sell some stuff.
Yeah, bro. Speaking of selling stuff, I mean, what are some of the products that you guys are selling now? Do you do a lot of business on your website if people want to support you and go out there and buy, let's say, some bee kept candles or wax, some raw product or value added products? What are you guys selling, or are you selling anything? I know you sell those boxes because I bought one from you.
Yeah. So
Adam told me if I didn't bring his money, he was going to beat it out of me in pennies. So
what I said was playing with my money is like playing with my emotions. And you don't want me to have to kill you. That's what I said.
I believe that's exactly how it went. Yeah.
So we have an Amish builder out near us. That's who we have build all of our swarm traps and all of our hives that we turn around and sell to others. And they do a really good job. They're a better craftsman than I could ever be. And plus the volume that we're kind of taking to these, festivals and stuff, we're doing a lot. And so those guys are really good. We basically have the hives built to order. And basically people just have got to get a hold of us to do that. And it is local pickup only. So that's really limiting. We don't ship any of that stuff. We have people come pick it up. We do have a bunch of stuff on our website, beekept.com, like hive tools, swarm lure kits, swarm lures, entrance discs, just kind of a lot of the little things that you might need. And then that's where you're going to find the links to sign up for our classes. My wife actually started a value-added product line with our neighbor, who's our good friend. It's her best friend. And they started making clean products out of our beeswax and farm products. So lard, beef tallow. Of course, most of it's foo-foo girly stuff that you and I wouldn't really be interested in. But they've got chapsticks, and they sold some honey sticks at that last festival and things like that. But they have some really great things that people love. They're working on a website right now. So unfortunately, you can't go find that stuff at the moment. But that's basically it. We just do it. It's local pickup only for now, or you got to catch us at one of these homestead festivals, and we'll take pre-orders. We did that at this last festival up in Front Royal, Virginia, where we had people ahead of time get a hold of us and say, hey, we want to come pick up hives at the festival. I'll tell you one other resource that we started. I started a Facebook page because I was getting so many people blowing me up about this stuff, about the hives all over the nation that wanted to do this. And they're just like, I want to buy a hive. How do I do it? So we started a Facebook page. It's called Horizontal Hive and Trap Buyers and Builders. I know that's really long, but it's Horizontal Hive and Trap Buyers and Builders. And we got an interactive map on there. And what we're doing is we're connecting buyers and buyers and consumers all over the nation with each other in their areas. And so we've had people make that connection with builders. And that's how we've been able to kind of bridge that gap. Yeah. So we've built a little community there, and there's actually a lot of people in it now. And there's some really good hive builders out there in different places. And so people can do that. Another thing is if you go to horizontalhive.com, which is not our website, but it's Dr. Leo's website up in Missouri. He not only sells hives and traps, but he gives free plans to build it. So you can go on there and you can get his plans. And if you know somebody, or if you're handy with a table saw and you've got some lumber, you can totally build all of this stuff. So, if you've got the money and you don't have the time, come see me. But if you've got the time and you've got the wherewithal, this stuff's all fairly easy to build, and bees don't care. They'll live in anything. They're used to a hollowed out tree. So pretty much anything you give them is going to be a little bit of a step up from where they came from. So.
Well, the one I got from you, man, I'll be honest with you. To me, I just love looking at it with that cedar and the whole 9 yards. It's so much more. I'm probably misusing the word in this case, but to me, it just seems so elegant as opposed to just some straight up box, made out of whatever that you may have picked up at Tractor Supply, some old pine or whatever. Nothing wrong with that sort of thing. It's like it feels right when you see how these bees interact compared to the other ones. I've never seen anything like it, because I was a little concerned to put them right in the middle of a food forest. I'm thinking, man, dude, every time I go down here to harvest or do any work, man, they're going to light me up. And then I can't remember you telling me, like, dude, I've had homeschool kids out here, and I'll be doggone, man, I can be within a foot of there operating probably a jackhammer, and these guys are like chill, like, hey, okay, what's up, Billy? Yeah, we're going to work right now. Don't start no SH and there won't be no IT. I mean, it's cool, man. They're just so chilled and laid back. So, I'm really looking forward to getting more of them and spreading them out. I got some really good ideas that I'd like to bounce off you one of these days, as far as other places I'd like to put them. But man, I sure love them. They are fantastic. So, Adam, where does everybody find you, bro?
So beekept.com, and then we've got a Beekept Facebook page. We've got an Instagram page with Beekept. Those would be the main places to find us. We've got a YouTube channel, but we haven't done a lot with it yet. We're really thinking about putting together an online course and offering that through our website. I do have an online course through the School of Traditional Skills, and so you could go there and sign up. I'm not sure what they're running right this minute as far as membership and all that. So you can do that. I also wrote a book that's on our website as well. It's called Bee Kept with Wild and Free Honeybees, and it's a great introduction into everything I do. It's basically everything I do from A to Z. It's got a lot of stories in it because I'm a storyteller. Lots of experiences of how I learned what I learned and getting stung, and you can laugh at my expense. And it's a fun book. And then there was something else I was going to tell you. It slipped me. But that's pretty much where you can find us online.
Any speaking engagements or classes coming up anytime soon? I mean, obviously, you're not. I don't imagine you're doing a whole lot through the winter, but when should people take a look out for something like that? Because honestly, I think Michelle and I might have to sign up.
Yeah, so we are going to be doing some winter classes, probably one a month, starting in November, December, January, February. And those are times that we can't get into the bees. It's got to be over 60 degrees to get into the bees. And so it's not going to be a hands-on course, but we're going to go through everything else and demo equipment at those classes. So we'll be doing those. It'll be a Saturday Bee Kept boot camp, modified Bee Kept boot camp. It'll be about a 3 or 4 hour class, and we'll be doing those here in the area of Columbia, Tennessee. We start up our regular Bee Kept boot camps March 1st, because that's about when we hit that 60-degree mark, and we run those through March and April. And then after that, basically, that's kind of when the festival season starts, and we leave the bees alone at that point, anyways, because we're getting into the nectar flow, and it's time for them to do their thing. There's rumors that well, I probably shouldn't say any rumors, but look for me to be speaking this next year again at a couple of the big homestead festivals. Let's just put it that way. And I'm going to be there somewhere. You'll find me, but we're still, it's early to start planning for that. But there's always we're always kind of just marking dates on the calendar and getting going. So.
Well, bro, always a joy to hang out with you, and always to catch you at one of these festivals, man. I can't wait to see you on the A list, which I think you deserve. I'll find out whose head I need to crack because
oh my gosh,
you should definitely be on the A list, bro. No doubt about that. Well, folks, that's Adam Martin. If you ever get a chance to hear him speak, if you ever get a chance to check out what he's doing, I mean, there's so much more that Adam and I talk about that's probably, it would probably get me kicked off of YouTube right now if we were to talk about it publicly. So there's so much more to this guy, and he is, as you can tell right now, autodidact, and he's seriously wicked smart regarding all this stuff. So, all right, y'all. I want to thank everybody for checking us out today. Until next time, you know the deal. Stay alert, stay alive.
Channel and nature, let the knowledge ring. We'll roots that run deep, wisdom from soul, permaculture dream. If the ideas unfold, I'm moving with the truth. Feeling nature's food. Who's got the answers? All we need to do, listen to the earth, they got us through. Let's see the change, watch the world spin. From the smallest sprout to harmony begin. In the cycle of life, where the magic's alive. Tune it to the